In this module, we are going to learn optimal saving and Ramsey's rule and general rule of accumulation. Any growth model in the neoclassical framework starts from the usual statement of single sector economy, where the inputs of labor and capital are transformed in output through a given production function which exhibits the constant returns to scale. But it may not reach the optimal solution as it is being felt that people may be myopic in their saving decisions. As Pigou has stated, that people underestimate their future utility and therefore they do not make proper provision for their future wants and thus personally save less than they would have wished had they made the calculation correctly. In other words, due to this behavior, the savings as a whole are less than what is optimal. Yet, in order to confirm the rate of savings thrown up by a market system with myopic agents was indeed suboptimal, one must first determine what the optimal saving rate might be. This type of exercise was done by Cambridge philosopher Frank P. Ramsey in 1928, who tried to derive the optimal rate of savings for a society. He proposed an intertemporal social welfare function and then tried to obtain the optimal rate of savings as the rate which maximized social utility subject to some economic constraints. In the Ramsey model, there is a finite number of agents with an infinite time horizon. Further, these agents are completely alike. The Ramsey model is thus also called a representative agent model.
After studying this module, you shall be able to determine the point of bliss for society as a whole and that of the individual members. Find an optimal solution of division of income in consumption spending and savings. Find this solution in case of individuals who live in a finite time. Find the future utilities and disutilities at a discounted rate of time.
Let us begin our model with certain assumptions. Ramsey's model is based on these assumptions. One infinitely lived household that maximizes intertemporal utility. Enjoyments and sacrifices at different times can be calculated independently and then added. The households receive wage income in exchange for its labor services and interest income for its accumulated assets. The income acquired is directed in purchasing goods for consumption and in savings through the accumulation of additional assets. Change in technology has no impact upon the savings of the households. The distribution of income across the society remains constant. Population growth rate is constant, which is equal to n, and it grows exponentially. The economy consists of a large number of identical firms producing a homogeneous consumption good Y. The goods as well as the factor market is homogeneous in character. Each firm uses a production technology. Y is a function of K and L, which satisfies the neoclassical properties and pays wages and rent in exchange for labor and capital services respectively. R is the rental price for a unit of capital and the small r is the net rate of return to capital equals R minus delta is equal to R, with delta denoting the capital depreciation rate because R is the interest rate on loans and other households, which are perfect substitutes with capital. Normal economic conditions under which the saving behavior of the society that remains constant.
Moving on to the model, taking xt and alpha t, the total rates of consumption and labor of the community, and ct, its capital at time t. Since income is a function of labor and capital, it can be written as f alpha c. Income at any point of time is equal to consumption plus savings, Therefore, dc upon dt plus x is equal to FAC. Now, if total utility from consumption is denoted as UX and the disutility from labor as V alpha, then the marginal utility and disutility will be small ux and small v alpha and are denoted as ux is equal to the derivative of ux with respect to x and va is equal to the derivative of va with respect to a. Here we must note that small ux is never increasing and small v alpha is never diminishing. The net utility for a society is capital Ux minus capital V alpha, which is an increasing function of C up to a point, as with more capital we can obtain more enjoyment. But after some time, it will stop increasing as the increment of capital may not enable the society to increase the income or layer of the society has already reached the maximum conceivable rate of enjoyment. In either case, a certain amount of capital leads the economy to a point of bliss. Therefore, enough must be saved to reach the point of bliss. To find this amount of savings, we must formulate a set of equations. First, the marginal disutility of labor at any time must be equal to the product of marginal efficiency of labor, that is dF upon dA, and marginal utility of consumption, that is ux at that time, is VA is equal to dF upon dA into ux. Second, the advantage of consuming today must be equal to that of postponed consumption or the saving today in future time period. If we take dF upon dC as the rate of interest, that is the marginal product of capital, it will increase consumption in future time period, that is t plus delta t. The intertemporal distribution of consumption requires that the utility today must be equal to the utility to be gained in future. Hence, uxt is equal to 1 plus df upon dc into delta t into u xt plus delta t. But as we know that the marginal utility from consumption always decline, therefore d upon dt of uxt is equal to minus df upon dc into uxt. This equation shows that the marginal utility of consumption falls at a proportionate rate given by the rate of interest. Consequently, it continually increases until df/dc vanishes. On basis of these equations, it is easy to find the optimum point, provided we know the amount of capital at the time of origin, that is t is equal to 0. To solve these equations, we can proceed as follows. The derivative of ux into FAC with respect to x is equal to dux into FAC plus ux into df upon dA into dA upon dx plus ux into df upon dc into dc upon dt into dt upon dx, which is equal to derivative of u with respect to x multiplied by FAC plus VA into derivative of A with respect to x minus derivative of ux with respect to t multiplied by FAC minus x to be multiplied with derivative of t with respect to x. Using earlier equations, derivative of ux into FAC with respect to x is equal to x into derivative of u with respect to x plus VA into derivative of A with respect to x. Further integrating by parts, we get ux into FAC is equal to x into ux minus capital Ux plus capital VA minus a constant k. Derivative of c with respect to t is equal to FAC minus x, which is equal to k minus ux minus VA, and this is to be divided with small ux. We know that the point of bliss is defined here as the maximum obtainable net utility and is therefore the difference of utility from consumption and the disutility from labor. In simple terms, it may be written as B is equal to Ux minus V alpha. B minus Ux minus V alpha measures the distance from the attainable point of bliss for any society. If we integrate it over time, then the target of any society is to minimize this distance with changes in savings or amount of capital over the period of time. That is, minimize the integral of b minus ux plus va divided by dc upon dt into dc, and it ranges from 0 to infinity. Or the integral of b minus ux plus va divided by fac minus x into dc. Now, in order to get the minimum value of the distance function, its partial derivatives with respect to consumption, that is x, must be equal to 0. Therefore, minus ux divided by fac minus x plus b minus ux plus va to be divided with fac minus x whole square is equal to 0. Or FAC minus x plus b minus ux plus va upon ux. This can also be written as ux into FAC minus x equal to b minus ux minus va. In other words, the rate of savings multiplied by the utility of consumption should always equal bliss minus actual rate of utility enjoyed. Now coming to the production sector, it has been assumed that returns to capital and labor are constant and independent. Thus taking rho as rate of wages and R as rate of interest, FAC is equal to rho A plus RC. Further, here rho A can be termed as earned income and RC as unearned income. Since rho, the rate of wages, must be equal to the marginal productivity of labor, that is dF upon dA, equation VA is equal to derivative of F with respect to A multiplied by UX becomes VA is equal to rho into UX, which takes A as a function of X only. But the unearned income may also be used for consumption. The difference of actual consumption and that of the earned income may be termed as part of the unearned income spent on consumption, here denoted as Y. Hence, Y is equal to X minus PA is equal to consumption minus earned income. The marginal utility of consumption from unearned income, denoted as WY, can therefore be simply the difference of marginal utility from consumption and marginal disutility from labor. That is, WY is equal to UX minus VA. And the total utility from the consumption from unearned income WY is WY is equal to the integral of WY into dy is equal to integral of ux dx minus VA into dA into dy is equal to capital Ux minus capital VA. However, the difference of total unearned income, that is RC, and the part of it is used for consumption, that is Y, is equal to total savings. Hence, RC minus Y is equal to FAC minus X. Adjusting FAC minus X plus B minus UX plus VA upon UX as utility from consumption from the unearned income. We can derive the following relationship: RC minus Y is equal to FAC minus X, which is equal to B minus WY divided by small wy, or B minus WY is equal to derivative of W with respect to Y to be multiplied with the difference of RC and Y. In order to determine how much of a given unearned income RC should be saved, let us look at the figure. In this figure, Z is the total utility curve from consumption from unearned income. At the point of bliss, where Z is equal to B, the point P shows RC and B. Drawing a tangent line from point P on curve Z, which shows how much of the unearned should be spent and how much of it can be saved. We can observe that a certain proportion of this curve also fall in the negative axis, which shows that not only whole of the unearned income is saved, but a part of earned income also goes into savings. By drawing a tangent, we can easily find how much of a given amount of income should be saved. But it does not tell us what our income will amount to after a lapse of time. Equation obtained will be minus d upon dt into wy, which is equal to minus r into wy, or wy is equal to a into e raised to power minus n, where a is equal to wy0 and y0 is the value of y for t equal to 0. Now, in order to find the time taken in accumulating a capital C from initial capital C0, we have to know about all the values at the time of origin, that is P0 and RC0, and if we have taken the values at P as RC at B, then values at P0 will be RC0B. Wy is slope of the tangent from P, when Wy0 will be the slope of tangent from point P0. The time taken to accumulate the required amount of capital will be 1 upon r multiplied with log e of Wy0 divided by Wy, which is equal to 1 upon r log of slope of tangent from P0 divided by slope of tangent from P. Similarly, we can also find the solution for an individual who lives for a finite time period in contrast to the society which lives forever. For this purpose, let us rewrite derivative of c with respect to t equal to FAC minus x, which is equal to k minus ux minus VA divided by small ux in terms of utility from consumption from unearned income. RC minus Y is equal to K minus WY divided by WY. In case of the individual, the maximum attainable utility, that is K, cannot be simply taken as equal to B. Rather, its optimal value has to be determined in case of an individual. In the figure, the society's total utility curve Z finds its point of bliss at Z is equal to B, while the individual with a definite lifetime finds himself or herself at line z is equal to k. Let us assume that the individual in question starts from P0 with RC0 unearned income and ends at P3 with unearned income RC3. However, the line z is equal to k meets the z curve at P4. From these points, we can draw tangents both in the upward as well as downward direction, which will give us various combinations of savings and consumption from the unearned income for different stocks of capital. The figure shows if C3 is greater than C0, taken as the abscissa on K, the value of y0 will be greater than y3 as shown by the upper tangent, which is impossible as y continually increases. Therefore, we can take only the lower tangent of P0. Ramsey further states that as individuals move on from P0 to P3, then it moves from Q0 to Q3 and there will be savings all the time. This happens if T, that is the perceived lifespan of the individuals, is small, but if T is very large, the individual may move from P0 to P4, then may shift back to P3, indicating that there will be savings first and then splashing. Further, in order to determine the value of K, the following ratio must be used. This ratio will not only determine the value of k, but also that which particular tangent, the lower or the upper one, should be used. The slope of tangent from P0 divided by the slope of tangent from P3 is equal to Wy0 divided by Wy3, which is equal to e raised to power RT. Now let us discuss discounting the future utilities. It is but normal that people assign greater value to the present than future. This time, preference requires that the future utilities and disutilities must be discounted at a given rate and should not be considered equal to present ones. The time rate of discount on utility is taken here as less than the rate of interest. If we take a constant rate of discount as rho and rate of interest as r, the equation derivative of uxt with respect to dt is equal to minus the derivative of f with respect to c into u into xt becomes derivative of ux with respect to t is equal to minus ux derivative of f with respect to c minus rho, which is equal to minus ux multiplied with r minus rho. While the equation rc minus y is equal to dc upon dt, which shows the increment in savings, can also be rewritten as rc minus y is equal to dc upon dt is equal to dc upon dw into dw upon dt, which is equal to minus r minus rho to be multiplied with w and multiplied with derivative of c with respect to w. Or rc minus y is equal to minus r minus p into w into dc upon dw, or the derivative of c with respect to w is equal to minus rc minus y divided by r minus p into w is equal to minus rc divided by r minus p into w plus y divided by r minus p into w. That is, the derivative of c with respect to w plus rc divided by r minus p into w is equal to y divided by r minus p into w. Equation rc minus y is equal to k minus wy divided by small wy can also be rewritten in terms of discounted marginal utility, and by substituting total utility, Wy as sum of, that is integral of, marginal utilities, that is small wy, discounted at given rate of discount. Therefore, the equation RC minus Y is equal to K minus capital Wy divided by small wy becomes RC minus Y is equal to K minus integral of W raised to power R divided by R minus P into dy, and it ranges from B to Y. This product is to be divided with W raised to power R divided by R minus P.
Thus, in this equation, we have the modified utility of an individual, which is discounted at the given time rate of discount and a given rate of interest. This is indicated by making marginal utility to the power R divided by R minus rho. This has the effect of accelerating the decline in marginal utility and declining effect of high incomes. Thus, the discounting of future also becomes the same thing as discounting of high incomes. The rate at which this is done depends upon the value of rho and R. In this equation, K is the modified bliss of an individual. K is also the maximum value of modified utility, which can be expressed as the integral form of W raised to power R divided by R minus rho into Y into dy, and where it ranges from B to Y. Thus, in this equation, Y increases until bliss is reached, and therefore dc upon dt, that is RC minus Y, is never negative. The solution of this equation will give us the optimal rate of savings for an individual with finite lifetime. Here we have assumed that small r is greater than rho, but if small r is less than rho, then the marginal utility of consumption will rise at a rate rho minus r, and the consumption will fall towards the barest subsistence level, at which the marginal utility may be taken as infinite. During this process, since R is lower than rho, all capital will be exhausted and debts incurred to the extent to which credit can be obtained.
Next, we will discuss the determination of rate of interest. For finding equilibrium rate of interest, we can consider three separate cases. Firstly, let us assume that everyone discounts its utility at a constant rate rho for themselves as well as their heirs. Then in state of equilibrium, there will be no savings and change in consumption is equal to the change in savings, that is the derivative of x with respect to t is equal to derivative of c with respect to t is equal to 0, and x is equal to FAC. The marginal disutility from labor is just equal to the marginal utility from consumption multiplied by marginal productivity of labor, that is VA is equal to the derivative of F with respect to A multiplied with UX. Further, the marginal productivity of capital must be equal to the time rate of discount, that is the derivative of F with respect to C is equal to rho.
Now for solving these equations, we need to determine the values of x, a and c. If rate of interest is taken as a determinant of demand for capital as well as the supply of savings, in figure, we can show the demand curves as R is equal to dF upon dC, while two types of supply curves can be taken. Firstly, the short period supply curve or the supply of capital at a given point of time is determined by the availability of capital at that point of time. This is shown by the curve C is equal to C0, termed as temporary supply curve by Ramsey. In long period, people discount the future rates at rho and weigh the rate of interest with the rate of discount. Therefore, In the long run, savings will be supplied only if R is equal to rho. Hence, the ultimate supply curve is shown by R is equal to rho. It is clear that at any point of time, the rate of interest is determined directly by the interaction of demand curve and the temporary supply curve at Qn. But ultimately, it settles at Pm on the long run supply curve at which R is equal to rho. Now we will move on to discounting the future utilities. Secondly, we can also take the case when different people discount future utility at different rates and do not take into account the utility of future generations, that is their hires. They take care of their own current and future utility and consume whole of their savings throughout their lifetime. Under such conditions, rate of interest will of course be equal to the demand price as well as the supply price of capital. If we assume a constant rate of interest equal to R, then the individuals will save more when young, for whom R is greater than rho, in order to provide for loss of earning power in old age, and they will spend these savings in later years of their life. If people perceive rho greater than R, they will have tendency to borrow when young and pay it back in old age. We can obtain the total supply curve of capital by adding together the supplies of each category of the individuals and can obtain a definite supply price to be equated with its demand price. Lastly, taking the case of families rather than individuals, where the families would be living forever as compared to the individuals who have a definite lifetime, the families may discount their future utility at a constant rate, but this rate of discount may differ from family to family. Assuming labor supply to be fixed, total output of the economy can be considered as a function of capital only, that is FC, and rate of interest as F-C. Further assuming that an individual can attain maximum conceivable utility with a finite income X1 and that no one can support life on income less than X2. In such a case, the families in the society can be obtained by dividing the society into two classes: the thrifty, enjoying the bliss, and the spendthrift at the subsistence level. If we take n as total number of families, the former category, let us take MR in number, will have a total income equal to MR into X1, while the other category, N minus MR in number, would be at subsistence and its total income will be N minus MR into X2. Hence, total income in the society will be FC is equal to MR into X1 plus N minus MR into X2, which will be equal to N into X2 plus MR multiplied by X1 minus X2, which together with R is equal to F dash C will determine equilibrium rate of interest R, as well as the amount of capital C at the equilibrium level. Finally, we will discuss the golden rule of accumulation. In general, the golden rule path or golden age path refers to a growth path in which every variable changes at a constant relative rate. In other words, if investment is positive, then output, investment and consumption must grow at the same constant rate. Phelps in 1965 defines it as a path on which the social net rate of return to investment equals the rate of growth. Hence, in one class of models, the fraction of output saved equals the capital elasticity of output, or in the market terms, a golden age path on which the competitive interest rate equals the growth rate and hence gross investment equals gross competitive earnings of capital. In Solo-Swan model, the golden rule of accumulation states that F dash K star is equal to N plus delta. This rule states that for sustainable economic growth, The economy must save until the marginal product of capital is just equal to the effective rate of depreciation, which in this equation is defined as sum of constant rate of depreciation of capital, that is delta, and the growth of population, that is n. The golden rule states that beyond this point, any further increase in savings and hence capital will push the marginal product of capital below the effective depreciation rate. This rule further states that to maximize consumption for current and all future generations, the economy should reinvest all capital income and consume all labor income. But this rule does not take into account the time discount factor as suggested by the Ramsey-Cass-Koopmans growth model, which states that the consumption and the saving behavior of the society depends on the fact that how the consumers discount the future. This points towards the need to examine the intertemporal utility maximization problem of the households. If households are impatient to consume, then it is optimal to have a level of steady state capital which is less than the golden rule. Therefore, the modified golden rule in Ramsey's model states that F-K Ramsey is equal to delta plus rho, where rho is the time rate of discount. For the transversality condition to hold, we need rho is greater than n. Thus, in the Ramsey model, households save less than the level prescribed by the golden rule, since in the Solow-Swan model, there is no discounting of future utility. However, in both cases, it is never optimal to have a level of capital above the golden rule. Now let us summarize what we have learned in this module. In this module, we have discussed the Ramsey's model of optimal growth, which aims at achieving the optimal point of bliss for the society as a whole. The achievement of the point of bliss depends upon the marginal utility of consumption and marginal disutility of labor. The process of growth depends upon the availability of savings, that is, how people allocate their income between consumption and spending. This allocation and the long run availability of capital is not a decision of a single point of time. Rather, it is an intertemporal decision, which would further depend upon the time rate of discount in relation to the prevailing rate of interest. Thus, the optimal growth rate seeks to find the solution for equilibrium values of output, consumption, savings, their respective marginal utilities, the rate of interest, and time rate of discount, as well as the point of bliss of the individuals. Thus, this model aims at deriving the intertemporal conditions that are satisfied on the optimal consumption path to be chosen by the central planner.